A lot of music producers feel like they failed, even when they're putting in the work day in and day out. And that's because they're missing something absolutely critical. So in this video, I'm going to reveal the #1 guaranteed way to predict if you'll fail as a music producer, why it's guaranteed, and most importantly, how to keep yourself from becoming a victim of it. Okay, so what's the #1 guaranteed way to predict failure as a producer? Well, I actually learned this one on the fly. Back in 2014, I had a day job working at a Sprint call center, and I hated my job. That was okay though, because in January of the next year, they laid off my entire department. In the months before the layoffs though, I was reading books by people like Tim Ferriss and consuming a bunch of content about how to create more freedom in my life. Plus, I was making music every single day, no matter how tired I was. So after I got the call from my manager on that Friday morning telling me it was my last day, I was actually kind of excited. However, I was struggling to find what was going to be next because I was determined to make music work. And that was January 2015. Maybe 2 months later, I was introduced to this motivational speaker by my guy Swab, super dope filmmaker, videographer. At first, I was doing a bunch of the motivational music behind his music videos.
For me, whether I made it to the NFL or not, that was inconsequential in God's plan for my life. But I was going to fall in love with that process because I understood.
His name was Inky Johnson. And at first, I didn't really take in what this meant. But after a while, I really thought about it. Is this how I kept going after all this time, after all these hurdles? Was this the reason that no matter how many times I faced obstacles, took L's, got rejected, lost all my computer files, you name it, I had fallen in love with the process. Process of cranking out music every single day, process of staying up late when needed, of going to events to meet new artist clients, doing a bunch of work for free when necessary, process of feeling a little burnt out, taking a break and getting right back to it, the process of restarting when I lost everything once before. It's a process. And if you don't fall in love with the process, you're guaranteed to fail. And I'll tell you why. But wait, how do we know that not falling in love with the process can predict failure? Well, I've been coaching producers for years. One of the first questions I ask producers is why they're starting. And guess what? Most of the ones that don't have a strong love for the day-to-day process, along with a deeper reason for taking on this path, they quit within 2 to 3 years usually. And a lot of times they never even allow much of their music to be heard. They're not focused on what's most important to keep them going. Typically, a lot of young producers I talk to plan to get a lot of money in a short period of time, but they end up disappointed when they realize how tough it is to get started and get over the humps. This is a long game, an infinite game. So we'll definitely need to get familiar with what comes along with the territory. This isn't a journey of making a few plays and getting rich in a year. It requires a mindset and a lifestyle change. So why does not having a love for the process guarantee failure for producers? Listen, this craft isn't built for those who want a quick fix, a get rich quick scheme, or like some magic pill that'll give them instant success. Because you're going to run into challenges and you're going to need to be in love with the ugly moments enough to push through that dip. And nobody has a straight line to everything they dreamed of. Life comes at you fast. You don't know what's in store for your future. Ask any producer that's made it. How much you want to bet they'll say that they face several challenges on their way up. And most of the time, the public, we'll never know because that's not what people are looking for. People aren't looking for the challenges. They're looking for how to win. And I'm here to give you the full picture, the entire perspective, so you can actually have a sustainable journey. There's this famous quote from this radio personality named Ira Glass, and part of it says, for the first couple years you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good, it has potential, but it's not. Then he says, a lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. Most people I know who do interesting, creative work went through years of this. And that's the end of the quote. And he's absolutely right. We have to be willing to go through the years of that phase in order to get through to the other side. Otherwise, I predict failure. And people underestimate how many uphill battles this path has. It's a never-ending roller coaster. Ups and downs are literally a part of the experience. We're constantly learning, and if we're doing it right, we're constantly growing. Forgetting this is a clear sign that failure is in the future. Now, hold on. You might be asking, what do you even mean by failure? Well, the definition of failure I'm referring to here has 3 conditions to it. The first condition is we have a deep passion and desire to create music. If that's something you can feel in your bones and you have a deep belief in producing as something you want to do, then this is you. If you don't feel this part, then the rest may not even apply to you. The second condition is when we walk away from music, even though deep down inside we still have this strong belief that this is something we want to do. It's ignoring our gut and shifting away from the music. But these first 2 conditions alone aren't what I'm defining as failure. These first 2 conditions happen to us all the time. And they happen to all of us. We all have situations in life that cause us to focus our attention elsewhere for a period of time. Sometimes it's absolutely what's required. bad. I've had to focus and refocus throughout my life for many different reasons. We don't consider this failure. In order to call this failure, we'll take a look at one of the definitions of fail, which is to fall short. And falling short has everything to do with what you know your potential is as a producer, which brings us to the final condition. Condition number 3 is when we never attempt to return to meet our potential. It's when we quit, walk away, and never try to take that chance. Quitting for everyone won't be failure, but I'm specifically referring to those who know deep down that producing is really what they want to do. If we realize that our passion lies somewhere else and decide to move on, I get it. But I repeat, but if we've quit and we still wake up every day knowing that we want to become a music producer and we just don't stick to the process, I mean, if we get too lazy, start complaining, never come back, that's on us. And guess what? No one else has to live with this except for us. Life will always be an excuse and none of us are immune to this. So understand that the phase is coming and be prepared to figure out how to get back to your passion. Now, a lot of people can't get through this phase and they never come back to make the attempt because they're simply burnt out. That's really common for producers that are in the dip. That dip, if that's you, don't worry about it. I want to give you something. Download my new producer's guide to escape burnout. In this free guide, I reveal the 5 biggest challenges that cause burnout in the first place. Plus, 15 different practices that I've personally used over the years to break free from the slump and renew your creative spark starting today. You can use any of them. And this is going to be the best way for you to start so that you can get out of that funk that burnout creates. It's extremely difficult to see a long-term future in music when you're already annoyed, frustrated, exhausted from the process. Get back to the love of creating music. Go download the free burnout guide now at KTGotBeats.com/burnout. Okay, so how do I keep myself from becoming a victim of this guaranteed predictor of failure? All right, I know some of y'all are thinking, I mean, it ain't gonna be me. I love music. Yeah, I know. We all do. A love of music is not enough. You're gonna need a stronger reason. We can love music and not make it. Take J. Cole, for example, one of my favorite rappers. J. Cole has talked a bunch of times about how the way he grew up has been the fuel for his drive to share his stories and inspire other people. He talked about it with Angie Martinez in 2016 and Billboard in 2018. We need to know our why, our purpose. Cole's sense of purpose keeps him dedicated to his craft. That's how you build a solid foundation so that you can fall in love with the process. If our why is weak, our commitment and our dedication will be too. I've helped a ton of producers and artists discover their why. If you don't have it yet, that's a conversation you need to have as soon as possible. Now we understand that knowing our why and falling in love with the process are essential to avoid quitting and feeling like a failure. But in order to connect with your why, you got to stay in touch with that inner child or it'll never last. And if you've lost touch with that part of your creativity, make sure you watch this video to learn how the best producers keep that creativity going.